Welcome, all fellow wannabes. Welcome to the show. You are watching / listening to Hot Takes. I am one of your hosts, Gabriel Fast, and joining me today is a very special individual, a very special guest, and it's special. It's Mario Riviera, by the way. Mario, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being here. This is stupid. I'm excited.
It's when I say it's special because I put the word out about this show, Hot Takes, right? And I'm not quite sure how we got connected. I think I was interacting on something. I think I had seen you on What's Good or something like that, or maybe somewhere in there, and I was like, oh yeah, like this guy seems cool. Gave you a follow. The social media thing happened. You know what I mean? It just was, and it's like every time I get a new follower on Twitter, I'm like, oh my God, you know what I mean? It's just, it's a cool feeling. So especially whenever it's someone who works in the industry. But when I put the call out, about the show, and I said, hey, if anyone wants to come on the show and talk about some music and eat some hot peppers, you hit me up. You hit the DMs. You're like, hey, is anyone slated for I Brought You Bullets? And at first, it was funny. I almost said no because I was gonna do this series of music reviews that I've been doing and focusing on. It's like I usually just do a single review, and the Hot Takes was kind of just like a test run, right?
Yeah.
And I thought about it. I was like, if it appeals enough to someone to where they reach out and they're like, hey, I'd like to come on the show, then it seemed like, okay, I should probably let that happen. You know what I mean? So I'm really excited to have you here. I'm really glad you reached out. And I'm excited to get this going. So Mario, tell the people a little bit about yourself first.
I am a video producer. I do videos online. Specifically used to do work for a channel called Dual Shockers, where we produced video game reviews, editorials, previews at the time. And now I am doing it sort of on my own. We'll be producing my own videos until, hopefully maybe I get snatched up. But otherwise, I, of course, basically producing my own content. Apparently Virus Protector is like going off like crazy on my computer. But also I do a podcast with a group of friends called the Point in Progress podcast, where very much we talk about games, recommendations, and we also have our own segment that we call Hot Takes. Not to this extent, but in terms of people's like flash opinions that we sort of like give our takes on as we go along. But it's been a fun ride. Been having fun with that, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it was one of the weirdest things ever, which, by the way, I've been known to give a hot take or two myself. So, we're one and the same there. I love the hot takes. It's like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't tweet it out, but then you tweet it out. Let's see what happens. Let's go crazy. You know what I mean?
Choosing violence today.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's like, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. I noticed your vinyl. You tweeted out the other day.
It's right behind me. I'm so happy.
Yeah, that's really cool. That was really cool. For a second, you kind of touched on the Dual Shockers thing. That was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Last week, I mean, at the time of recording, it's February 26th. I remember seeing a tweet. It was relatively early in the day. And I think you were one of the first ones. I don't know if you kind of like led the vanguard on this exodus of sorts, but, there was someone saying like, hey, you basically said, hey, I'll do creative direction, yada, yada, yada. I'm no longer going to be, working for Dual Shockers. And I was like, oh, that's kind of, that's weird. Because I had applied to be on the podcast that you had kind of, got
yes.
and stuff like that. And I was like, I probably won't hear from him again. Yeah, here we are. And then I started seeing retweets from people, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm leaving Dual Shockers. Like there's like 10 people that I saw. I don't know how many left. 20 people. Are you kidding me?
Out of 24. So
wow.
Majority of the entire cast or people that we had on the team have all left.
Now, as a fan and just as someone who is trying, right, to get to a place of, I'm either going to be doing stuff for me or I'm going to be doing stuff for just the right outlet. You know what I mean? Because time is too precious. As someone who was, and I feel like as people who are trying to make it in the industry and trying to get further into it and, get into content creation and stuff like that, I feel like you don't take an opportunity unless you know it's exactly what you want most of the time. Don't take a bad gig, because a bad gig is worse than no gig. And
Yeah.
So to get to that point to where you're like, I'm out. 20 over half the team, most of the team, to get to that point.
Yes.
I mean, are you allowed? I mean, can you elaborate on what causes it? I mean, what happens?
We didn't sign any NDAs, so we really can say whatever we want. But the sort of TLDR version of it was new ownership. We're switching over on February 1st, and they hand the keys off to the new people. It was a company primarily in the UK, very much known for clickbaity websites, very much chasing SEO and search terms and key phrases and all that to garner their business. So very much so. They did tell us though we had a 90-day window where everything was going to be totally fine for just like stuff as going as normal. But then like day one, there was like massive changes, cutting to editorial stuff. Reviews was like in question. Culture stuff was in question. Long form, opinion pieces, everything that gave us a voice was being basically shut off. And so a lot of the big writers started leaving early. It wasn't until I believe one of the best guys I know, Ben Bayless, had a conversation with them about covering accessibility, and they questioned him in a way that was totally not cool, and he bounced as well. And then that was a big thing that a lot of people thought that was like not a great look. And so more people left. And then there was a situation when a writer was told by the new people to basically take someone's video and convert it to an article with barely sourcing them. And that was like the last straw for a lot of people of just like, this is not the direction we want to go. We're not like, you're tracing these trends. So like there's a lot more Clash Royale or Clash of Clans content versus like hard, interesting pieces. So yeah, everyone pretty much left. And a lot of us were doing it for free. A lot of people don't really know this, is that a lot of us were there at DualShockers for free because we loved it and because we wanted to keep seeing the website grow. It's nice every now and then we got a free game, but at the same time, we were there as a community, sort of like a family aspect, and I feel like it was gutted pretty quickly. So that's basically what ended up happening. I ended up leaving on my own accord because also on the video end, they were starting to push in changes. And if you've seen the direction of where they are now, it's still very much chasing the trends and stuff like that. Well, I was trying to build a community sort of on the YouTube side, having discussions and podcasts, and also still doing editorials, still doing reviews and previews, but they definitely wanted to chase more of these sort of like, which we would have done too. It would have been an equal balance, but they wanted to focus primarily on it. These sort of like Polygon-y videos of like, did you know this? I love Polygon. I love all the stuff they do, but their focus was hitting it hard so that way they get SEO numbers versus like building like I felt like they bought the name DualShockers and totally misunderstand what it means to be in the gaming industry, but also in the gaming community as a whole. So,
well,
that's
Well, that was, I mean, I hope you got to vent. You mentioned a little bit, you've been on talking about it now. And at first I was like, are you sick of talking about it? You know what I mean? And I think each time, I don't know if you feel this way, like each time you feel like you've been slighted in any sort of way, eventually, like sometimes it can feel like you keep tearing open the wound a little bit. You know what I mean? But eventually it gets to where it's like, yeah, that happened. And like, I'm moved on now from that. And I hope you find yourself in a better situation as soon as possible, because just hearing you, like, that makes my heart hurt. Like hearing you talk about like trying to build a community, because so many of us know how hard that is. And, DualShockers was gaining so much traction and it was so inviting. And like,
yeah,
it's frustrating because just to hear what happened, as a fan, it's like, I want nothing to do with DualShockers now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's frustrating, but hopefully things will get to, things will get better for you. And I appreciate you kind of opening up about it, and letting the wannabes know what's going on. And guys, if you're listening, go send Mario some love. Like, definitely go follow him on the socials, support his videos, like watch it, give him a like, all that stuff. Because, that's the thing, is like, even if you're not, you can be supportive without being supportive. It's kind of like, we were kind of talking about the Patreon thing. It's like, there are probably so many people out there that have zero interest in what I'm actually talking about or what I'm playing or what I'm doing, whatever. but just the fact that they might think, well, he's doing something he likes, so I want to support that. You know what I mean? That's where a lot of the support has come from, people who have no idea what I even do. And they're like, yeah, I want to help you. You know what I mean? So go check out his stuff, go give him a like, go do all that stuff, because that's gonna, that's gonna help ease the pain a little bit. But I'll tell you what's not going to ease any pain is the peppers we're about to eat tomorrow, and or not tomorrow, today, a little bit later today, in this conversation. You mentioned point in progress.
Yes.
So is that kind of like a spiritual successor to what you're trying to accomplish kind of at DualShockers, like the same type of content?
So it was actually originally going to be just a thing I did with DualShockers. It was planned to just be another project where it is 5 friends getting together and doing a podcast together. Originally, I was going to do another podcast on DualShockers, which was sort of the discussions that we did, and we were going to convert that to an actual show. And that's where I brought a forum to gather as many guests as I possibly can, some voices all across the net, so I can hopefully showcase them. And I'm still doing that. I own the forum. So that's my thing. I will be reaching out to all the individuals that still want to be a part of it. And there is some other things I'm cooking up that will be involving that. So don't dismiss. There's still something in the future if you still want to be a part of it. So don't worry, Gabe. You're still on that list.
Yes. Thank God. I was so worried. I was like, well, that's the thing is I think about this all the time. Like whenever I submit stuff like as Wannabe Critic Productions, and it's like, Wannabe Critic, like who's this guy's a prick, like pretentious, whatever. And that's kind of the whole point is like, look, man, even if you're making money, your opinion is no better than mine. That's what the whole point is. Like that's owning it. And when Wannabe Critic Productions gets to the point where I would love it to be someday, the message is always going to still be the same. And I think that is trying to be a representation of what we as creators do is like, we're just trying, dude. Like we're trying. We are constantly, no matter how much credibility you have in any part of the gaming industry, it doesn't matter. You can be Jim Ryan, be like, you're president of PlayStation, nerd. You know what I mean? Like, no matter how successful you get, video games have some sort of negative connotation attached to them for whatever reason. It's like they make more money than the music industry and film industry combined every year by like a long shot. And it's like, it's just frustrating that it has to be that way. But that's kind of what the thing is a wise man once said, know what you are and wear it like armor, because then no one can ever use it against you. So I just bought into that from day one. I was like, Wannabe Critic, dude. Like that's who I am. That's what we're about. And we only bring that type of energy here. People who are down to earth and realize that all you can do in life is just try. You want to be at a certain place, and that should always be the mindset. You've never made it. You're always trying to get better. So there's that.
Yeah. And for people that think that like, we have the platform for DualShockers, or even like people that enjoy IGN, people always get mad at the organization as a whole. Is like, oh, they gave that game this, they gave this. It's like, first of all, it's the individual person. It's their opinion. It's not the whole website. Not everyone has the same thing. Right. We can all have our own different, thoughts and feelings on stuff. And I think that's what people forget sometimes when you're associated with a big thing. So even when you're an up and coming thing, I think just keep in mind, it's the same mentality as up and coming versus being actually at the top. So yeah,
sure. I love hearing that and hearing you talk about that, because that argument that is never going to work with me. It's like, oh, IGN gave it a 9. It's like, I don't freaking care. Like, you know what I mean? The only time it really matters, time I only really think about that. And it's hard. It's hard whenever unanimously the industry is like, oh, this thing is like a 9 out of 10, right? Or this thing is a 10 out of 10, like across the board. Like there are those like untouchables, right? Like, we'll throw out okay, let's throw out a couple. Arkham City, okay, untouchable. The Last of Us, right? Untouchable. I mean, Super Mario 64, like, them. Like they're unanimously across the board objectively good games for the most part. Are there minor gripes? Sure, and they get blown out of proportion, but like you said, opinions vary. Just don't take yourself too seriously. Just enjoy what you do. That's the only thing that's going to get you through each day. You got to enjoy it, or it's never going to happen for you if you don't actually like it. So
100%.
So, and it's nice to see the wannabes talking, but the professional Mario Riviera, I mean, he's talking, it's from out of the mouth from the professional himself. So, Mario, I want to thank you for that wonderful introduction to this podcast. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you opening up. It was nice to kind of get to hear from you a little bit more and get to know you a little bit more, because we haven't really talked that much. So
yeah, for sure. This has been a great opportunity for me to step out and jumping on other people's shows and meeting them for the first time and opening up and having that dialogue. So for sure, it's been great. So thank you again so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of talked a little bit about what's going on with you. What do you say we just give a quick shout out to the sponsors, so to speak, and then we'll talk about I brought you bullets, you brought me your love. I'm drinking beer. I get a little burpy. You know what I mean? I get a little burpy.
The title is very much a mouthful for sure.
Yeah.
I always get them crossed.
I do too. I do too. It happens to me. Yeah, exactly. So, just a quick shout out, that this video is in fact sponsored in part by patreon.com/thewannnabecritic. That feels so weird to say out loud for the first time. Our patrons at the producer tier for this month are HH Waxbar. We also have Emma Fast. We have Ozark Coding Alliance. We have Luke Ryan Collins, and we also have Zoe Chanel. And those are our Patreon producers for this month. So thank you so much. If you want to make a request, you can go to patreon.com/wannabecritic. And if you subscribe at the $10 tier, which is the request tier, that ensures whatever you want me to talk about, I will make sure to do that. That's how it happens. I get requests, Mario, to do a lot of different stuff. We got Game Club. We got the Wannabe Critic podcast. We got Hot Takes. We got Beer Bros. We got Game Club. We got all kinds of things going. And it's like, hey, you should do this. You should do this. It's like, look, if you want to ensure that I do this thing, I'll watch people fight each other in Muppet costumes. I'll do it. If you're subscribed at that tier, just go for it. There is only 5 spots left at this time because there's only one. There's only so much wannabe to go around. But I seriously appreciate all the support. Definitely go check that out if you're interested. That's patreon.com/wannabecritic. Also, wanted to give a quick shout out to one of our friends at Raise Energy. I prefer this is grape bubblegum, and it tastes like passion. It tastes like remember Fruit Stripe gum? Remember that?
I do.
That's literally what this tastes like. Like it tastes exactly like this. And there's a code. There's a nice little code down in the description if you want to get 15% off your next order. It's delicious. And Raise, thank you for continuing to work with me. I appreciate it. Speaking of which, pinky's out. All right.
Look at you getting that sponsor.
Look at me go. That was like one of the weirdest things. I made a video for that one and everything. And I don't even know if anyone's bought any because I haven't seen any money yet. So whatever. it just feels cool to say. That's the thing is like, it adds a layer of credibility. And that's what, from the very beginning, I was like, if I can get affiliate links to stuff, that I'm actually passionate about and whatever, like that just, it's like maybe people will actually think I'm legit someday. So, there we are. But it is delicious. It hydrates you, and it's 0 calories. So there you go. Now, the pièce de résistance. We are talking about I gave you bullets. And don't get too worked up, Mario. We're not to the pepper portion yet. All right.
Okay.
You'll know whenever the pepper portion is happening because there's a signal. I didn't tell you about the signal, but you'll know when the signal, whenever it pops up. So a little bit of background about the record, which I don't know about you, but Wikipedia is getting more and more reliable these days. It's crazy. It's crazy what modern technology can do. So this is, I couldn't find a proper write-up from anywhere about this record, but I'm assuming, all the way it's pieced together, these things seem like facts. So I hope
I can even do some from memory from what I remember, but go for it.
Okay, awesome. So musical and lyrical themes found within this record, categorized into genres such as emo, post-hardcore, screamo, punk rock, gothic rock, pop rock, and garage punk. I Brought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love has a raw sound featuring guitar riffs, very energetic vocals, and occasional screaming. Despite being sold under the post-hardcore and alternative rock genres, it is considered an emo album with strong influences from punk rock, hardcore punk, and heavy metal. Are we going? Does that feel right so far?
Yeah, there's moments.
Yeah, there's definitely moments for sure. Songs on I Brought You Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love, such as Skylines and Turnstiles and Our Lady of Sorrows, have been described as hardcore punk songs. I Brought You Bullets, You Brought Me Love is often regarded as a concept album. It involves 2 Bonnie and Clyde-esque characters who are eventually gunned down in the desert.
On My
So
Chemical
what's your
Romance's next
background
album,
kind
Three
of
Cheers for Sweet
with
Revenge, the unnamed
My
man
Chemical
supposedly then
Romance?
finds himself in purgatory
Yeah,
where
I
he
mean,
makes a deal with
so
Satan, his hellbound lover
growing
for the
up,
souls of 1,000
primarily
evil
my
men.
influence has always been from others. And roughly around this time, it was definitely being influenced by my friends playing Dungeons and Dragons and reading comic books and playing Halo like in the back of a comic book store. And they were introducing me to stuff like Thursday and Dashboard Confessionals and Tiger Army and AFI and all that. My Chemical Romance is the first band that I found for myself, and the way I found it was in such a mainstream way that I regret it sometimes. But I love Austin at the same time, is because so I found My Chemical Romance, and a lot of people I think actually found them through was the making of the video of I'm Not Okay on MTV.
Mhm.
But the reason why it drew me in so much was because they were a band that I wasn't seeing on MTV or anywhere else. They were kids like me, interested in stuff like me. They're not Britney Spears. They're not Eminem. You know, this was a band that I could relate to, and then watching them make that video and listening to the actual song, which like exploded. It sort of began this interesting love affair that I've had with My Chemical Romance even to this day. I still consider them my favorite band of all time because I felt that I've discovered them in my own way, which of course then led me to many years until they left this place, eventually coming back. And I have tickets for when they come back eventually. But then, of course, going back to even discovering their first stuff, which of course is what brings me to I Brought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love, which I think is a fun album to go to like dive back into, especially after Three Cheers. So yeah, that's the genesis, I would say, of my Chemical history. I of course have seen them live 3 times. I originally saw them at Warped Tour at my first concert ever, actually. So Warped Tour
that's
2005.
awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty rad. Actually, someone bumped me in the crowd, and I looked and saw who the person was, and it was Frank. It was the guitarist.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was like, this is cool. I love this place.
Amazing.
And then yeah, I saw them later on with during the Black Parade era. During this 3 Cheers during Black Parade, and they played the whole album all the way through. They had the outfits from the music video. It looked absolutely spectacular. So yeah, very hopefully I'll see them again soon.
Yeah, dude, I'm jealous that you got to see him because I've told the story a bunch of times now. I feel like of like, for me, you're 5 years older than me. I never knew that I'm Not Okay was what made them big, until much later in life, because as a kid, I somehow stumbled upon the Helena video and was just obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And just they had such a different look. They were pop when you like, not pop, but they were poppy enough to be in the mainstream when you think about it, when you listen to it even now, but they weren't trying to be. That was just genuinely like what the music sounded like and what they wanted to do. And you mentioned Thursday, Jeff Rickley actually, was the producer on I Brought You Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love.
Yes, he was.
And I never knew that even until today, because I started to go back and do my homework because I hadn't really listened to this record that much. I remember listening to Vampires Will Never Hurt You, like years ago, and just didn't really do anything for me. But now, I was like, okay, I got to do my homework a little bit for this new review. And after I listened to it about 4 times, I'm like, this is like Three Cheers version 0. Like,
yes,
it is like
100%.
the backbone. It's like a way more raw version of Three Cheers, and I never knew that I had been missing out on it for so long.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say I consider it so the concept of Three Cheers very much is like every song is kind of like its own movie, and there's different genres in the different songs. There's a Western song, there's a prison song, there's a high school teenager song,
Right.
And I feel that I Brought You by Bullets is actually the horror album because every song has something that's sort of like scary about it for the most part. Not every song, but a majority of them. Like Sunsets Over Monroeville is obviously about Romero zombies. Vampires Will Never Hurt You is obviously about vampires. But it definitely there's some horror elements, and then it even shows up in their music videos at this time. Like Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough for the Two of Us is literally the music video is just a direct remake of the movie Audition. So like 100%. There's so much influences of horror elements, and that's what also drew me in so much. Is I was like at the time discovering horror for myself and getting into all these older genres and movies. So, yeah, no, it's definitely the grungiest sound of it, and I think that's what makes it works because it is so freaky
Yeah,
in some aspects
and just unpolished, like
yes.
but there's talent. It's like whenever you go hear a really, really good band, like a really good opener, you know what I mean? It's like, holy crap, these guys are freaking awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then 5 or 6 years later, they end up being like the next big thing. You know what I mean? Because they paid their dues and things like that. I think about I remember I got invited to go see a show. God, it's been over 10 years ago at this point. And because I was like 14 or 15. And my buddy, he's like, yeah, we're going to see AWOL Nation. And he's like, have you heard of Imagine Dragons? Have you heard of those guys? And I'm like, no, I don't know. And he's like, yeah. So like, I think Imagine Dragons was opening for AWOL Nation.
Got it.
And now, like, I think about how those roles have reversed, to this day. Now that's crazy, but it wouldn't surprise me to see AWOL Nation opening up for Imagine Dragons now at this point. But that's very much what this record reminds me of, is like whenever you would go see just a killer opening act, just full of emotion and hungry, like they're hungry for success.
Yes.
And that's every drop of this album. Every note played is just pure emotion. And I love it. Now, not perfect, obviously, and we try to talk about, I was talking, we've heard your history. Okay. We've heard your history with My Chemical. Is this your favorite My Chemical Romance record?
I'm going to say no. It is not my favorite out of all of them. Oddly enough, and I think I'm curious how, I've not seen the test of time of how much this album has carried over, but basically, I think Black Parade is the perfect album. And the reason is because I think they've reached their cinematic peak. And like I said, the last two albums are very cinematic in terms of what they're trying to go for. One's a horror specific one, and one is many other movie genres. This was them actually hitting their rock opera cinematic peak, in my opinion, in terms of their songs. And I can bring it up, obviously, from them starting here at I Brought You My Bullets with Demolition Lovers is, to me, their most cinematic song out of the whole album. But yeah, I think Black Parade to me is still like almost pitch perfect. Like I can imagine when I listen to the album from front to back, I can imagine what the story is in my mind, leading all the way up to the end. And it's in the artwork, it's ingrained into it. To me, it's always been a dark version of Wizard of Oz, of this patient and him going to a purgatory or hell and somewhat rising up or going home or accepting himself by the end of the album. That's why I feel that the Black Parade to me is still by far their perfect album, them reaching the operatic heights, but this is definitely the basis to get there.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And I think too, like just the musical, like the soundscapes found in this first record, the emotion is still there. And then it is really polished in the second record, but it's still just off-putting enough. It's off-putting enough to where it's like, this record is not going to make it to the masses in the same way that something like the Black Parade is just so approachable. You know what I mean? From so many different angles. Yet I find myself preferring Three Cheers over any of it, which is funny. It's just, for whatever reason, Black Parade has the exact same amount of songs that Three Cheers has, but Black Parade feels so much more complex and so much longer. It feels like such a longer record, and it is. It's like 25 minutes longer than Three Cheers. Yeah. So it's cool to hear you talk about that, and I'm happy that it touches you in such a way. You know what I mean? Like that's great.
Yeah, I literally have stickers of Black Parade everywhere. I have one right there. You can't even see it, but it's like right there. I have one behind this. Someone gave me a bunch of them, so I just slap them places sometimes. But nice. Yeah, 100%.
Very nice. Well, we have gotten to the point where it is time to give our hot takes about this.
Oh no. I see it.
Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? So today we are, eventually I'll get some different peppers to try out. But today we are trying out yet again. We are trying Ole Rico.
Oh boy.
We are doing Ole Rico dried habaneros. Now we had Fonz on from the Plastic Hearts podcast. You may not know him. But we had him on for our first hot takes. He's a friend of the show. A solid guy in general. And he held it together pretty nicely. I think he did better than I did. We reviewed Danger Days. But Mario, how well do you handle heat, bro? And are you prepared? Do you have plenty of beverage? Because
yeah, I have this giant thing of the Rogue One tumbler here full of ice water, a Rock Band 4 cup when I used to work at GameStop of milk, and then just in case a Gatorade as well.
Okay, so you're prepared. You're prepared.
I'm open, and I have my little spit cup, which I'm going to use that just in case.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. That makes me happy because you might need it. You know what I mean? I'm going to try and hold out as long as I can. So here's how it's going to go, Mario. So since you are the guest, you have to give your hot takes first. So what that entails, you've already said a lot of good things about the album. I want you to finish up your good thoughts and then immediately jump into the things that are controversial, that don't work, the things that you're not crazy about, the things that other people may not be crazy about, all of it. You know, whatever comes to mind. You're gonna have a lot of hot thoughts coming to your mind. You know what I mean? So just whatever any negative thing that you feel to be a true thing, just spit it all out. We want to hear it. So on the count of 3, go ahead and crack the bag open if you don't mind.
The bag is open. So
okay, so give her a smell. Give her a smell first.
Oh boy. I hope this sound effect sounds good. Okay. Oh.
It smells kind of like dates, right? Like dried dates, you know what I mean? Okay. Ready?
Oh, this bag is not fresh. Yeah. I got one ready to go.
Okay. All right. Ready? Hold on. Wait. All right. So what I do, I'm gonna chew mine up, and then I'm gonna take just a quick swig of water. That's what I'm gonna do. So on the count of 3, okay?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
It like shot down my throat. Oh, how you eat this? Oh, spitting already.
Okay. All right, you got it. You can wash it down a little bit. Just roll it around the mouth. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh. Immediately. Oh, it like when I bit into it, I felt like it would punch me in the throat.
Yeah, like with the dust. Like the dust was like, you know, you can.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Go for it. Okay, start with the positive stuff first.
Demolition. Oh, Demolition Lovers is probably my favorite song of the album. Primarily because, like I said, it is the most cinematic song of the album. Oh, woo! But I think it's cinematic because I'm a sucker for Bonnie and Clyde like songs, and this is very much that of two lovers in a hail of bullets. Literally, it's the song, this music of the song. It's fantastic. It also ends up being the cover of 3 Cheers and Sweet Revenge, which is an amazing album. Second best song, Skylight Returns House, a wonderful song. The first song of My Chemical Romance, about 9/11. Not a lot of people know that. Without that song, there's no My Chemical Romance. The first track, Romance, is literally a straight up steal from Dawn of the Dead. Oh, it says of Maroneville. I wrote a screenplay based on that song called Last Day of Zoe. Literally about a couple breaking up, but instead of them breaking up, one of them has a bite. And one is going to turn into a zombie. That's going to be real bad for the both of them. All right. Bad takes? Oh, hot takes? Everyone loves Our Lady of Sorrows. I could give everyone requests it at their shows. Nobody cares. All right. It's not their best song. It is probably one of their quicker songs. Cubicles is better. Oh.
How are you hanging in there? You doing okay?
I'm doing okay. It's on my tongue.
Right? Yeah.
Also, Head First for the Halos is a good song, but also not the greatest. Best Day Ever, also not there either, in my opinion. I think Drowning Lessons is underrated. Cubicles, at first I thought was a creepy song, but after looking at the lyrics, it's actually not that creepy. It's just someone who loves somebody when they work. That's a very innocent song. Oh, God. Oh, my face is raw. You can't see because of the lights.
Nope.
But my face definitely turning.
With with like red heat. You know what I mean?
That pepper was old and dusty. Oh, sponsored. Oh. Yeah. I think Demolition Lovers, like I said, it's my favorite song. I think it's underrated. It's their longest song, I think, on the album. One of their longest songs ever.
Right.
Black Parade is still the best album. Sorry. They made this album in an attic under Eyeball Records. That was cool.
Oh God, is it my turn now?
Thursday's also a great band. Continue.
Thursday is a great band. It's so good. Okay, I love hearing your hot takes, your positive and hot takes. Talking makes it 1,000 times worse every time. Okay, so here's the thing. You said Black Parade is their best album. I think that is unanimously, like, objectively the one that is the most approachable. I think that this, that it draws in the most people, right? This record, I don't think is going to do that for many. There's a reason, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, it was kind of a turnoff for me because I just didn't, it's so raw and messy. And as someone who was kind of brought up on Three Cheers and the Black Parade, wow, this is horrible.
Yeah.
This one's like, mine's really hot. Like,
It's not good.
My eyes are watering. This is bad. To come back to this album, it was kind of hard after coming up on a more polished experience from those first two records, right? Or those first records that I listened to as a kid. So I come back to this. I really like it. I like the quote unquote, whenever you can see an album, whenever you can see an aesthetic for an album in your head, whenever you listen to it, I think the album's doing its job. Like you said, there's kind of a horror aspect, kind of a messy aspect to it. And that is continued throughout the entire thing. And while I enjoy that from a more objective standpoint and from more of a quote unquote critical standpoint, I think the talent's there. So this band has all the talent in the world. They had all the talent in the world here as well. The production's actually not that bad. I think it was intentionally made to be messy for a reason. Because they were trying to perpetrate a certain type of vibe. That being said, I don't think it's going to be approachable by everybody. I don't think that is the quote unquote thing that makes or breaks a good album. But at the same time, its biggest strength is also its biggest weakness, because it is only going to appeal to such a niche audience. And that's easy to say because as the band progresses over time, with Three Cheers, we get a little more polish, a little more approachability. There's at least one pop song on that record that's like, oh, maybe I'll check out this band, right? And then we see the evolution, but it feels like they tried to get into the mainstream while still trying to keep a certain shred of integrity with each project that they did. It worked on Three Cheers decently well. It worked really well on Black Parade, arguably their best album. And then after they hit the peak of success, I feel like there was kind of an attitude of like, I don't know if we want to do this anymore. So then they did something that they really, really wanted to do. And they went full on like pop rock, with their last record. And now, as you said, kind of making a return as a band. I think that this is a kind of a really good pivot, like a really good foundation for the band as a whole. Holy moly. I feel like it's a really good place for the band to start, but I'm glad they didn't stay here. I'm glad that they continued to press forward and continue to tell a nice arc of a story. I kind of mixed my positive things and negative things together at all times. I'm not as learned of a fan of this record as you, but sure. There's no one song on this record aside from maybe Vampires and Demolition Lovers that sticks out to me as something that I would intentionally go back to listen to. I don't know that I'm going to go back. Like, as I said, this feels like version 0 of Three Cheers. I don't know that I would come back to listen to this over Three Cheers ever. So, I think that kind of not holds it back. It just makes it just puts it in a weird place, but I'm glad this album exists for people who have been longtime Three Cheers fans. So there you have it. The hot takes. Do you have anything else to add? I saw you nodding a lot. How you feeling? You feeling okay?
I'm a tongue is a thing. I agree with a lot what you're saying. I do think that Three Cheers definitely is the step above of this album specifically. But I do think there's still a lot of love built within this album, even in the smaller songs like Skylines and Turnstiles. I think is such a beautiful song. And knowing the backstory of it, obviously it's literally it's Gerard Way on a ferry on his way to Cartoon Network to pitch a cartoon, sees the towers fall. And then a year later, they make this song, Definitely a pretty crazy style. And when you hear about, if you listen to the lyrics of it, it's very much that 9 to 5. It's definitely the like people like living in the ground up, just living their lives, and all of a sudden a big change happens, and then where can they go from there? Definitely, to me, was what I needed in my life that pushed me forward, and I think My Chemical Romance did that through the rest of their albums for sure. Danger Days, not as much, but I think that there's still stuff to be loved in all their albums. But yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, and like I said, if I had to rank the albums, it's still going to be, to me, Black Parade is number one, followed by Three Cheers, I Brought You My Bullets, and then Danger Days far at the bottom.
Yeah, whenever you were saying that, I thought you might say Danger Days was going to be your favorite album. And then I was thinking like, wow, there'd be two people on earth that have that as their favorite My Chemical Romance album, because Fonz came on the show before me or before you, and that's like his favorite one. So, but that was kind of his intro. That's what's so great about My Chem is, and I think that's what's amazing about all these records is they all have something that make you want to learn more about the band, which is very rare in my opinion for a band. I think all of their records are good and do a really good job of executing what they're trying to do. So yeah, there's that for what they were given at the time. Mario, how you feeling?
I'm doing better. The water milk Gatorade combination tastes good momentarily, and then you have to keep pounding it down. But
yeah, well, yeah, I think we can safely say that the hot takes have subsided. As for the most part, there's gonna be some lingering heat. There's gonna be a little bit of pain. The heat's gone. Yeah. Now you're actually gonna have like an achy mouth for a while.
Right. I have the podcast right after this. So
there you go. It'll be great. You'll be all warmed up.
See what Why is Mario so quiet this episode? I don't know.
My mouth hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. You're gonna make me have to go back and edit. There was some you let it just loose, and I understand. Sometimes you just gotta let it, you gotta let it fly sometimes. So you know what I mean? Like no hard feelings. There is, I might throw up a couple. I might throw in a couple
bleeps.
It.
Yeah, bleeps.
Might throw in a couple bleeps, like do
like a long, because I think a long bleep would be great.
That'd be funny. Yeah. Okay, so we get to the point we're gonna rank this record. All right.
Yeah.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, or we're gonna rate it, not rank it. I'm sorry.
Got it.
On a scale of 1 to 10, and honestly, I think I'm going to agree with what you said. I think it's Black Parade, Three Cheers. I'm going to say that this record's better than Danger Days for me personally. That's just a personal choice. I think the production value is way better on Danger Days, but I don't know. This one just has a lot more emotion, I think.
Yeah.
So there's that. But out of 10 being nearly perfect, right? I mean, this is like. And everyone has we've established already, everyone has a different idea of what a 10 out of 10 is. But out of 10, you, Mario Riviera, what do you give? I Brought You Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love.
As a pure, according to the internet, an elder emo, I'm gonna say it's an 8. And the reason why it's an 8 is because it still has so much power and drive and an idea and a feeling that really powered, I think, the early 2000s, that drove the eventual love that My Chemical Romance and the respect that they end up getting, especially carrying on from bands like Thursday, AFI, Take It Back Sunday, Tree, so many bands that are in that same era. I think that they are so well respected and overcame, I would even say, them in a lot of ways, to me being one of the best bands of all time. This is such a great starting point. So I think that for this album specifically, to me, it's an 8. Oh, and you can kind of see the decibels of where I put the other albums.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think you touched on something really good. I think about bands like a little more obscure that you can definitely still hear elements of in My Chemical Romance. Like I think about bands like even something like Sleeping with Sirens or Chiodos, or God forbid, even Bring Me the Horizon. I mean, you can hear the emulation of attitude found within that early. I mean, who else was doing it? You know what I mean? Like back in those days, and who else was doing it and who was successful? You had My Chemical Romance and you had The Used. That's it.
Yes.
Like those were the big two, you know what I mean? That made it mainstream. And it was like, oh, it's possible. Oh my God, it's possible to make this music that we love and make it into the industry, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was put really, really well. So hats off to you. You have done it. You have officially made it through an episode of Hot Takes. So the second ever guest, Mario, I wanna thank you so much. I really respected your opinions. You brought exactly what I was hoping you would bring to the table. I feel like we connected on a level, on some levels. That was good. I was like, Mario seems like a cool dude, and that's exactly what you are. So, thank you for agreeing to eat some spicy peppers. And thank you for coming on my show. I really, really appreciate it. So
no, thank you so much. This is such a great, fun concept. Spitting now. Yeah, I think you did a great job with guiding me through, holding my hand in some aspects. And I very much appreciate it. I'll never do this again.
He's like, whenever we get like, if we ever get like, the guy from Hot Ones, Sean, what's his head?
Sean
Evans. We get him on Hot Takes. You know what I mean? You can say, Mario Riviera can be like, yeah, I was on an episode of Hot Takes one time. You know what I mean? So now I'm excited to see where this goes. It's a lot of fun. And go ahead. Sorry.
No, the only album you'll get me back for is Purple Rain.
Prince revisiting Prince. I'll give you a fun fact. I love music. Have never been able to get into Prince.
Oh man, just sit down, listen to Purple Rain from front to back. So good. Watch the movie. Do that instead. Okay, watch the movie instead.
Yeah. All right. I will do that. Watch the movie instead. Okay. Awesome. Well, I know you have other engagements, Mario. I want to thank you so much. But before you go, take just a couple minutes, plug all the stuff. Plug it all. Tell people where they can find you. Tell people, just tell us all.
You can find me at twitter.com/that Mario Rivera. It is just easy as that. You can find me at twitch.tv/that Mario Rivera if you want to watch me live. Sometimes I play games randomly or all the way through. It just depends on how I'm feeling. Of course, I have to build out my new schedule as I have a lot more free time. If you can, please check out YouTube Point in Progress, where we are starting something new there, having a good time. We have our own hot take section. It's not as hot as this. Oh boy, is it not as hot as this. I should force them to do this.
Oh yeah, dude, do it. Well, it's funny, we had go ahead. Sorry, keep going.
No, and then that's where you'll find me and my friends and us goofing around and talk about news, recommendations, and talk about Twin Peaks. I talk about Twin Peaks a lot. So I'm wearing a Twin Peaks t-shirt, if you can see. But yeah, thank you again. Thank you so much.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. Mario's a busy dude. I always see him tweeting. I usually like his tweets because he's got good takes. And he's got good takes on music, for my personal music taste. Also, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Normalize. This is your hot take, your real hot take for today. Okay. And you can fight me on this. This is like an indubitably, you cannot refute this. You can at me, but we're just going to fight, and it's going to be, a never ending circle again and again and until we're both dead. You know what I mean? That's Spider-Man 1 for you.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Stop saying that someone else or yourself has good taste in music. Stop it. If you like it, it's good. You have good taste, okay? And if someone doesn't like what you like, that's okay. But don't let them ever shame you. Don't let them ever say oh, you have bad taste in music. Get out of my face. There's there's your real hot take for today, ladies and gentlemen.
Well said.
Thank you.
Well said.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that's going to wrap it up for us here at the Wannabe Critic podcast. This has been Hot Takes. Want to give a quick shout out once again to our Patreon producers. I appreciate it. Also, Raise, you helped us get through this podcast. We got some other links down there if you want to check that out. Mario, thank you so much. I hope your mouth heals okay. And maybe we can figure out a way to get you on something else one of these times, from Wannabe Critic Productions. So
it'll be a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, guys, we will see you next time. But until next time, thank you for tuning in, and thank you for preparing yourselves for a plethora of hot takes and potentially unpopular opinions. I am Gabriel Fast. I will always be the Wannabe Critic. Say goodbye, Mario.
Goodbye.
Whatever possessed you to check out the podcast or the YouTube channel today, I just want to say thank you so much for doing so. If this is your first time here, I would appreciate it, if you would consider subscribing. As you can tell, it's not just me here anymore. I mean, I do stuff by myself, but the podcast is going to reside here from now on, in video form. So if you want to see more content, if you want to be notified, every time we post something, whether it be a clip, a podcast, a review, an interview, whatever it may be, if it's gaming stuff, make sure you click that bell and hit the subscribe button, and we will see you next time. Thanks for sticking around, and thank you for preparing yourselves for a plethora of hot takes and potentially unpopular opinions. I'm Gabe Real Fast. I will always be the wannabe critic.